Hello, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. Well, have you ever heard of the Pareto Principle or the 80-20 rule? And this is one of these great concepts. It seems to be universal. There's no guarantee that it absolutely works, but it seems to make sense in almost all aspects of life. Most companies, when they look at their sales volume, they come from about 20% of their products. And what people have found over time, when they really examine things, is like 80% of your happiness usually comes from about 20% of your overall relationships. 80% of sales revenue usually comes from about 20% of salespeople. And this principle is a powerful one if you harness it correctly. And when it comes to diet, exercise, and health, I think you got to realize that, look, these small little changes, making changes about 20% of your diet by getting rid of ultra-processed food is going to result in about 80% of your health benefit. Believe it or not, it's that dramatic. Same thing with exercise. If you look at, if you do 20% of what a really high-grade athlete does, you're going to get about 80% of their result, which is kind of a nice feature. I mean, look, I don't need perfection. And really, when you think about it, high-end athletes and bodybuilders that are really working toward the top of their stuff, they're putting in 80% more effort trying to squeeze out an extra 20% to get into that upper percentage. Frankly, I don't need to. I don't need to be in the upper echelons of athletic performance. I just want to be relatively healthy. I mean, my goals are simple. I want muscle, I want strength, and I don't want to hurt myself. And therefore, I'm not pushing myself to those upper limits of what is possible. I'm just trying to get as much result as I can for the least amount of effort, because I'm genuinely kind of lazy in that aspect. So I want to get my workouts done quickly, efficiently, maximize my efforts, but I'm not pushing toward perfection. Same thing with my diet. Look, I mean, I'm probably about 80% carnivore, in my stuff, but, I still build in tweaks, This weekend, I was at a school and I was teaching, and people were bringing homemade carrot cake and stuff like that, and I'm going to have that. I'm going to enjoy those things because I can. And I've got margin. Now, I'm not going to get 100% results because I'm not putting in huge amounts of efforts, but I'm getting 80% of the results by doing at least 20% of the work. And that's what I'm talking about. Small hinges open big doors. And you can create tremendous amount of change by making small tweaks to your diet, to your exercise program. Taking a walk after a meal is going to provide tremendous benefit. Doing some sort of resistance training, be it body weight or bands or stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be outrageous. I mean, I've got videos where I show you how to work your entire body a couple times a week, upper and lower bodies, and you get pretty darn good results with $20 worth of bands. You don't have to spend a fortune. You don't have to spend a huge amount of time in the gym in order to get some pretty significant results. It's that first 20% of effort that is going to make all the difference in the world. Getting rid of the ultra-processed foods in your diet, it's going to make a huge difference. And you don't have to go 100% carnivore, to get some really good, significant health gains. It's possible to, test your blood. You can do all sorts of things to fine tune what you're doing. But frankly, if good enough is good enough, and, and you're going to be doing better, certainly, than almost 90% of America. Because when you look at, where we are, 90% of America is metabolically unhealthy, and that is a problem. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I try to put out a couple of messages each week. I will talk to you again soon.